It's recording.
Does the microphone voice not record? I mean, like, just looking at me.
No. No, you can barely. I mean, you can kind of see it, but no, it doesn't look weird. Sorry, first episode, huh? And it happens to be our 3rd anniversary.
Barely made it.
How'd that make you feel? 3 years.
Sometimes I feel like it's a lot. Like, I feel like we've been together for a long time. And then other times, not so much. Like, I feel like 3 years ago, I barely knew you.
Yeah.
Would you agree or disagree?
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, well, 3 years ago, we I don't know, it was a completely different
Yeah, I feel like we're completely different people from 3 years ago, too.
dynamic that we were in. The people or the things that we did, or, it changed a lot. Especially, I think, moving away from where we were living at.
Yeah, I can't tell if, like, we changed because we're getting older or if it's just, like, the different people that were around, different area.
Yeah, sometimes you just everyone has their own walks in life, but sometimes you look around and it's like, man, a lot of the people are just, doing a lot of the same things, and probably will be doing a lot of the same things for their whole life. And
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, fuck.
When I went to go eat fish Friday night, it was like literally like there was live music at like 8 o'clock, and it was like the same people that like when we were there like 3 years ago, like the same people doing the same things, like hanging out with the same people, coming in the same crowds.
Yeah, some people, I mean, like I said, some people enjoy it, and that's like, whatever, it gives me a lot of anxiety. I'm like, I don't want to be doing the same things 20 years from now that I was doing whenever I was in my early 20s.
Yeah. How long total has it been since we've been together? 5 years? Has it been 5 years yet?
November 12th, 2019, I think, was
18.
the first time we ever spoke.
So almost next month will be 5 years. They say people change every 5 years.
Every 5 years. I think we're in the drastic cycle of change. Coming up on 10 months without the booze. Almost a year. Probably haven't been 10 months or a year without alcohol since I was, 13 or 14.
That's crazy.
Probably 14. Definitely by the time I was 15. And then 16, it was pretty regular.
Your freshman year?
Oh yeah, definitely before then.
That's crazy to me.
I won't put nobody on blast who I was with, but just I said friends at a young age that were just mischievous, I guess, and kind of getting a little bit of trouble. Yeah, I was definitely an instigator. I always, yeah, I was probably instigating more times than not, but yeah, just started at a young age, and that's
But that's weird to me because even as a freshman, I was hanging out with seniors and Not that like they didn't drink or I didn't ever drink, but like that wasn't like the primary thing. Like,
Yeah, I enjoyed it from the very beginning.
I don't really like look forward to the taste of alcohol like that though. Like I enjoyed the effects of it like after a certain time, but
Yeah, that's especially when like the beginning of I first started getting sober, and then you hear all these people that they talk about like trauma they had growing up, or like things that they had like wrong in their life growing up that led them to, you know,
really nervous. You're about to like put your parents on blast as the first
no, no, no,
episode.
no, no. That's just what was hard for me was like I didn't have that. Like, I didn't have like I had both parents at home like supported me, were always there, like, and I never. So whenever I hear other people talk about their upbringings, and like the first couple of times I ever like went to an AA meeting, and like I would hear these people, and they would just have like crazy experiences at a young age, and I was like, I didn't have that. Like, I just enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed to drink. Like, ever since the very beginning, it was always just like appealing to me, and I enjoyed it. And I think because I was like also like in a public setting, I could just be more social comfortably. Because I'm not the most like social butterfly now.
No, but I feel like you were when we first got together. Like even you were either drinking before you were hanging out with me and I just didn't know it, or like even like when we like would first get to the bar, I feel like you would go out of your way to talk to people.
Yeah, that's like the whole, even, it was like everything to do with drinking though, would kind of, like getting ready even to go out. I'm now like more excited and like in a better mood because I know I'm about to drink.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the whole thing, it's the whole process.
True.
It's not even just like the consumption. But yeah, that's the. I don't really miss it though. I did at first, like I thought I was going to at first, and like there was a little part of me. I was like, I was like, there's no way that I can go the rest of my life without drinking. Like that's so bizarre to think about. And now I like it doesn't cross my mind. I'm not interested. Like I don't have hangovers. I don't waste whole days just lying around feeling miserable. But on to, at least now, like, I mean, we still have our fights now. And I was thinking about this the other day about, like, if we have an argument or
But I'm
something
sorry, I wouldn't
now.
consider them fights now. Like I feel like they were like brutal, like very toxic for like not like a long time, just like a couple months span where it got like really bad. That was like very noticeable. Now I feel like we have like disagreements or arguments, I guess, but I wouldn't classify. I don't know. I feel like fight is like
Yeah.
kind of aggressive.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about the difference in it, at least for me, and the way I look at it is like before, especially if we had been drinking and we got into an argument or whatever, it was just I would have hated to be a fly on the wall because I'm sure we just were like two idiots yelling about nonsense and like it just like it couldn't none it was never worth it. Like it was never anything that like really was worth it. And now at least like we have disagreements and arguments and it's like a real conversation. Like it.
I don't feel like we ever like got that bad. There was a couple times that I feel like, all right, this is really
Like,
embarrassing, like secondhand embarrassment, like thinking about it, like especially like once we'd sobered up, I'd be like, wow, everyone like heard us like yelling at each other.
mm-hmm.
But I feel like for the most part, I feel like most of our arguments were just like about the drinking itself, like because at first it would be like whoever like got drunk first didn't really have to drive home. But then it got to the point where, like, even if I got drunk, like, you were still gonna get drunk too, and we were just screwed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just reckless.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I do feel like our arguments are more, like, logical now, and I don't know. I still feel like we, like, go days without, like, actually coming to the same conclusion or actually, like, talking about things sometimes, so.
Yeah, we both get very set in our ways and
Yeah.
stubborn, and even if we're wrong,
I don't even know if it's about being wrong. It's just, yeah, like, being accountable of like your actions or like my actions, not just at you, but
yeah. And that's another thing that's a lot easier to do whenever you're not trying to hide behind drinking and all those things. It really just like, I know like we've talked about it a lot, and it really does just like blow my mind to like just alcohol being like promoted the way it is and being so accepted the way it is, and like I'm not like one to like sit on a high horse and judge for what anyone does. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just like, it just, I've seen nothing but positive things since I stopped,
yeah, I agree.
and like I can't think of one negative thing that's happened in my life since where I was like, well, damn, if I had been drinking, that would have been better. No, like not
Yeah.
one single thing has that happened, and ever since then, like it's just nothing but positive changes, and yeah, it's I think that's what irks me about like it just being such a okay thing.
Yeah, I feel like you don't like realize how like socially like everything's centered around it. Like dinners, like that's the first thing that they always want you to either like sit at the bar or like make sure that they give you like the cocktail menu. And like if you don't order like the first round, then like they'll come back when they're ordering food and like ask you again. Or like concerts, games, like everything is like centered around it.
Yeah, and that's like where I get into just like I've always been one that's like spoke on and just it's like sorry. It's so bizarre to me that they still are keeping things illegal like marijuana, or they're not even really like allowing the chance of using psychedelics for people with mental health and those kinds of things, and things that just the I don't even know who it is. Like I don't know. Is it the boomers? Is it the just so anti against it? And then just to see things like alcohol, tobacco, and are just as harmful, if not more harmful, than so many other things that.
I don't think it's like a whole generation like that. I'd say it's like you're like very specific, like judgmental. I think religion has more to do with it than anything. Like especially in this area, I feel like it's very frowned upon in that like specific demographic. Because I feel like we get a lot of patients that like admit to like marijuana specifically, that's like all ages, all demographics, except for like the super religious people.
Yeah, that's another segue I won't try to get into too hard in the first episode, but it just, they've found stuff showing and kind of proving they've been using these things, especially the psychedelics, for long, long periods of time. And it does kind of seem crazy that there's so many, even if they're not like real actual reports, that, just from word of mouth, you can hear it. There's so many people that you can talk to that have all these crazy positive experiences. And like, that's got to speak for something, right? Like, at some point, someone has to be like, okay, like maybe we should listen to what these people are saying, because, and that's like another strong, like another thing I look at as far as the marijuana goes, especially what I know, like in the United States, everything's, big pharma, and we're all okay with prescribing pain pills and whatever else it, continues to make doctors rich. But
I don't even think it's the doctors. I think it's more insurance. Because it's not like the doctors are getting like a straight cut of how much they prescribe. I think it was like with like all the documentaries on Netflix, like the more oxy you push, the more that you make. But I don't really know that it's like that now. But
yeah, still, I think that's, once it turned into such a for-profit, these companies getting so insanely rich, and I don't know if that's like, if that's another reason why things like marijuana are still yet to be like, federally made legal and more accessible to people, is like they haven't exactly harnessed a way to be super profitable with it yet. Like, and then once they do, they probably will. I don't know.
there's no way, like Illinois, there's no way that they're not seeing a profit margin right now with the dispensaries. There's no way. Just the amount that
Well,
they're
I mean,
taxing alone, they've got to be making.
yeah, I don't know exactly how it works. I'd have to. I think at some point, I think Rick's actually going to come do a podcast, so you probably talk to him more about how that actually works. I don't know if those are like, because I know they have to get. I think they have like permits from the state, and they only have so many permits for so many like dispensaries. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. If I had the computer in here, I'd look it up. But so I don't know how that works as far as them being actually connected with the state. Because I know, I mean, just from the little bit I was around, like the grow house over there, and like seeing that, I know that company owns like so many different facilities in the state. So, but still, I mean, it's super bizarre to me, the things that are legal in this country that either for one are not legal other places. That's a big thing, especially now you're seeing with Robert Kennedy Jr. coming out with the election, and he's talking about wanting to clean up our food and the stuff we're eating in the United States, and you're seeing all these things in like other countries that are not allowed, like they're illegal, and over here they're just like everyday food items, and that's kind of a bizarre thing. And then I was watching this video where there's a lady, and she was like on some rant talking about like, who are you guys to tell me what I can and can't eat, blah blah blah. And like, I get that, like, you know, I don't ever like think we should be infringing on people's rights, but like, this stuff is like actual poison a lot of times, and it's like really detrimental, and you're seeing like a huge, I think it stems into like the mental health and so many other things that's like just going wrong in this country. And a lot of it is just because of the stuff they're like putting on our food and then feeding us. It's crazy to me that more people don't see such a problem with that.
Yeah, I feel like that's like an addiction of its own though. Like I feel like everyone can like relate to a food addiction, like whether you're like overweight, obese, or whatever. Like no one is, not no one, but majority of people aren't like clean eating, like not processed sugars, no additives, like all of that. Like I feel like if you tried to pull that from everyone right now, like I feel like you'd have to do it in like moderation for it to like truly be successful. Like
Yeah, I don't think we should be pulling. I mean, I don't. Again, because I think it does get into like the whole argument of people talking about like, here you tell me what to do with my body and all that bullshit. But and like I'm all good for that, but at some point, and it's not like crazy things. Like not like I'm not saying like pull sugar, no, but just like especially the dyes. The dyes are a big one that you see in so many different things and have been linked to a lot of different things and has caused problems for so many different people, and yet we just continue to. And I don't know. That's where I go back to my like conspiracy theory, where I just believe that the government is like doing everything they can to make us submissive and like lazy and obedient and just fall in line.
I still think
And
that's part of like big pharma too, though, because if you like feed people all of these foods that's causing like all this inflammation and all this like sickness and like, or like you're giving them all these foods that like don't break down properly, and then obesity's climbing, and then you can give them like a metformin or a GLP-1 or whatever and make so much money off of that.
yeah, I wonder.
So they're lazy, they're fat, lazy, and dependent on a medication for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and I think you'd be. I wonder what the numbers are looking at like people obesity in this country, and then like the numbers of people that are now on things like Ozempic and then look and then tie that into like the profit margins these companies are seeing along with the rise of obesity. I feel like there's
Yeah,
probably got to be some sort of like
I don't
correlation going on in there.
I don't remember what the Good Energy book, like it had said something about like obesity rates in like children alone right now. Like I don't remember, it was closer to 50 or 70%, but they're already on like metformin or something like that, like as a child. So not only is their life expectancy like significantly decreased because of that, but
Yeah, I think it. I don't know. It's a as someone that does like work out and like tries to take care of themselves pretty good. Like I've been like a little bit heavier, unhealthy, eating whatever, and then like I've been like I guess you say more cleaned up version of myself, and it's such a significant difference of like who you are, like how present you're able to be, and how much you can actually live in your day to day life as compared to just like barely getting by. And it's like now being backed more and more by body shaming and all of these things, when really to me it's just a huge excuse for people to be lazy and fat, which again I think is what government wants from its people. It just wants people that are willing to fall in line, and I think it's even a whole system that's bred all the way into like our schools and what we're the food they feed kids and the things they make them do, just sitting in classes all day and then prescribing them with medication whenever they can't sit still for 8 hours, like not a lot of normal human beings can do. It's only a natural thing to want to get up and move around. So think it's the whole system. I think it's the whole way they've got things wired up. I think we're starting to see more people that are finally starting to speak out against it and
Yeah,
are
it's
starting
like
to finally open their mouth and not be afraid of like the hate they might get because they just want to be someone's going to be honest about how shit really is right now.
yeah, I don't feel like any of that's like brand new information. I feel like that's like mainstream media right now is how like I guess corrupt is the word, but like how everything is. Like I feel like that's like what people are mainly talking about right now.
Yeah, I get on there, especially now that I've kind of started taking interest in politics. I don't really watch the mainstream. I turn it on and just to get like the real basic overview of what's going on. But like after that, I don't like continue to watch into the specifics that they're trying to talk about because I just can't bring myself to trust any of it. And I guess that's something, especially like with this podcast. I think that that's like something I would like to push towards is just like being open, talking about things that like are just like going to the Tucker Carlson event, like things like I feel like they're just basic human things that we should be doing. And the only reason I'm like tying into this is just because it's like election time and it's everything that you're hearing about right now. But like I feel like we're just so far away from we're so concerned on like who's on the right, who's on the left, and we're just like completely away from like just like being good humans. And like I feel like we're like in a total disconnect of like what it means to just like
I feel like we've been in a disconnect though. Like that's not really new either. Like people would rather talk about like their differences than like I don't know, like getting along long enough to like actually come up with a solution to problems.
yeah, it's kind of I was listening to I can't remember I was listening to a podcast and I don't know if I'll get this all completely factually right, but basically there was a test being done on a group of students, I think it was, or something, just a group of people, and they were like scanning their brains while they were doing this, and then they were able to like basically kind of like whatever they were doing in the brain, they were able to hit like certain emotions and like make people feel these emotions. What do you think out of all the emotions that they could pick? There was like four main ones. It was like happy, sad, angry, and like something else. But what do you think the number one feeling was that people wanted to continue to go back to and said they liked the most?
Anger.
Angry. People liked angry the most.
Mm-hmm.
Which you're seeing now more than ever because I feel like there's so many people that are, it's like a hostile time. Well, I don't know. I say that. I say that and I believe that. And then, like, listening to other people outside the mainstream media and not to continue to go back, but just like listen to Tucker Carlson, who's been like traveling all over the country. And again, this isn't even about being, this is not about being right or left. That's not what any of it's about. I'm just, his idea of just like basic principles of being a good human being and him being a good husband and father, I think are not a crazy, bizarre take on how we should be acting as humans. But just him talking about how he's been like traveling all over the country, and he says that on the mainstream media we're pushed to believe that we're divided between race and gender, and yet he's like everywhere I go, not the mainstream media, but like the real people of this country, like the people you meet at your local coffee shops or the people he meets in hotels or at restaurants, like people aren't as hateful and mean a lot of times as we're led to believe. There are your select few out there, and like that's what's being pushed. But like, I feel like a majority
I
of the
think most
time,
people are nice surface level. Like if like I feel like if you go out in public, like you said, like coffee shops or like somewhere like that, I feel like if you go to Walmart though, I feel like you see a lot of hateful people. That's where I'm angriest at is there. Or like I just feel like everyone's really negative in general though. Like I get that like everyone's not good all the time, but I feel like I don't know, like you ask someone how they are instead of just being like good, thanks for asking. It's they're exhausted or they're tired or just like I don't know, just like complaining about like day-to-day things instead of I don't know, being a little more grateful. Not that I'm like innocent in that because I too get in a negative mindset, but
You think people? I think about this a lot too. I think that I think as people, I think we're so like used to the fact anymore. Like way back in the day, people used to just like do things out of the goodness of their hearts. And like I feel like as we've evolved as humans, we've like things that we've kind of materialized, and so now there's not as it's more of like
the very selfish mentality.
do do something for you for something. You know, everything comes at a cost now. There's not many people like acting out of just like the goodness of their
Yeah, I
being.
would say even people like doing things for others, it's only like to get the attention or like to get like a public like thank you or like just so that they can go like to their next like stop and be like, and I did such and such for so and so, and they're just really down bad, but you know I took the time out of my day to like help them out, like a pat on the back instead of just like genuinely like getting self worth from doing something nice.
Yeah, that's not you don't see that a lot. If you like try to like think back to like you try to think back to the last thing you just like did for someone that was just nice, like just because you felt like it. It's like kind of fucked up. Maybe I'm just not a normal person, but you know, just think back like just randomly that you just did something nice because you were like, I think this is a nice thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's different levels to it. Like, I don't know. I feel like when I'm out and about, like I try and like be nice to people or like say hi to them or whatever. Or like not saying that you're like a shitty person, but I feel like if you go out, like you try and like keep to yourself and just like, I don't know,
Yeah.
very much like head down, like you're not going out of your way to like speak to people or anything like that. Like whether it's like the gym or like getting groceries or whatever. I feel like, and I don't know if it's because I'm like more extroverted than you or what, but I feel like if I see someone that I know, I'll be like, hey, what's up? Like, how are you? And you're like putting your hoodie up, like running the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that comes from which that was another thing with like wanting to start this podcast was just wanting to even just if anything on like a personal level for me to develop speaking better and like putting my thoughts into words. 'Cause I think I have a lot of probably fucked up thoughts and like probably a lot of like probably crazy mentalities that some people would think is crazy.
I feel like
And
you catch me off guard sometimes. So yeah, I do agree with that.
I think I have like a unique insight on things and like I think that I developed through things like being wrapped up in addiction for a long time and like doing some crazy stuff and like not that that's like a brag or like oh that's I got these cool stories like no just from my life experiences I think that I do have a little bit of a different mentality and idea to things that's not as typical as you would see especially around here and I think like I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like I'm starting to feel better in my recovery and being sober. And I think about like often like talking, doing things like this, and like putting out there my thoughts, and maybe one person hears it that needed to hear it and it helps, and that would be worth it. So on a personal level, I think that's something I would like to develop with doing something like this, is like being more comfortable with talking and not being so like run the other way and hide. But I think that's just like years and years of being wrapped up in drinking and self-isolating, and especially like once I started to make a conscious effort to get sober, and I was not doing very good at it and was relapsing, and it's then it becomes like embarrassing, and like then you really start to feel like a piece of shit, and not like making excuses, but then that's where then the self-isolation starts to pick back up again, and hide from the world. But now I don't want to do that.
I feel like you still do it though, to an
I know. Well,
extent.
it's the easy thing. I mean, it's the easy thing to do though. I mean,
But it's like such opposite for me because like I get like I don't know. I like get like nervous that someone's gonna like see me dodging them, and then not that I feel like most people would ever call it out, but like I get so nervous that someone's gonna like know that I intentionally like didn't want to speak to them. And then I don't know. Now if I don't like someone, then like I don't really care, but I don't know, yeah, we're just wired different.
yeah, that's probably your more compassionate side. Because
Never heard of her, huh?
no, I just mean like if somebody saw me like dipping out, we've all done it.
I don't think I have.
You never just saw someone, you're like, fuck, not today, can't do this.
No, like, yes, but no. Like, I'm like, God, I really don't want to talk to them. But I'll just be like, hey, how are ya? And then dip out. Not just like a completely ghost them.
No.
We also just really went deep into it and never introduced ourselves. Not a name, nothing.
Well, I think we'll have that figured out by the time we share it and upload it. My name's Chase. This is my wife, Briley. This is our podcast.
You're not gonna introduce Zara and Gus.
I don't know if they can see them, yeah. Our two dogs.
They're very much present.
Yeah, very much asleep. And took them down to the river. They played today.
Yeah. Pretty girl.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's and then hopefully too, 'cause like I said, I've talked to the people and I'd like to have guests on and speak with other people, so I think that'll also help just break me out of that shell, you know what I mean?
Speak to anyone but your wife.
Oh no, that's not what I'm saying, but
But it's all people that you're like already comfortable with. Like, I do think you're better in like this setting because I feel like if you weren't doing a lot of the talking, I'm not just gonna like, I don't know. Not that we don't talk on a normal basis, but
no. Yeah, well, it's I mean, after you've been with someone for so long, like I feel like, I mean, that's what makes it a little bit harder, I think, as time goes on. Because, like, at first, whenever, you're, like, first meeting someone, you have so much to talk about. But then after you, like, get to know someone, and I'm not saying that, like, you should just stop talking. But I'm just saying, there's not the small, like, things to talk about. Like, we have a routine of things. But again, I think that's another positive thing with this. It forces that The dialogue. Yeah.
I didn't like that.
What? Yeah, forces. Yeah, after I said it, I was like, yeah, that didn't sound very good.
I
But
didn't like any of it.
I will edit that out.
Oh. I feel like you don't do small talk. I feel like I still. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like you like isolate yourself once again. Like,
Yeah. Well, that's what, like, I guess I got really comfortable with just with self isolating. So, and it's the easiest thing to do because, it involves nobody but myself. So it's super easy to fall back into that kind of way of thinking. And a lot of time I don't realize that I'm doing it until,
yeah, I feel like you could go like weeks without knowing what the hell's going on in my life for sure.
yeah. And a lot of times it's not that like I'm not paying attention, like I normally am. I just, especially now that I'm like, am trying to, I do have to like focus on and like make a conscious effort every day of like staying sober and like staying on the straight and narrow. And so I do catch myself. It'll be like, yeah, days have gone by and I realize I'm like, yeah, I've been totally just like zone,
Selfish.
yeah, just like locked into like what I'm doing every day and I forget.
Which I get. I mean, I would rather you do that and be sober than not, but freestyle solo over here sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that. Trying to get better about it. Whenever talk about my feelings, I'm like, I don't
When's the
know.
last time you talked about your feelings?
Yeah, I just do this weird thing where I'm like super quick to just shut down and just like call it a day, and like I can do that too. I can just shut down and
Wait
like
till I go downstairs and then text me.
then 2 days will go by.
Not
Yeah,
even 2 hours will go by and you'll act like we're best friends when I'm still mad.
yeah.
You just like
That's my
act like it
way of
didn't happen.
that's my way of extending the olive
Talk
branch.
about fucking gaslighting. Is this? Act like an argument did not happen.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of my narcissistic behaviors. Well, like, and yeah, it's not probably healthy to think that way, but I do like. It's like especially like after an argument, it's like okay, obviously we're like disagreeing on something, and sometimes like I don't want to like force it, so I'm like okay, like it is like let's just act like it didn't happen, and I know that's like terrible, but
Just
it's
such a
like
toxic mentality. Just
sometimes like forcing the issue doesn't help either. So
it's
sometimes
not
I'm
like we're
like,
debating like life's biggest arguments. Like I can't even think of an argument off the top of my. I don't even know why we're beefing half the time, but I just know that like not discussing it just like pisses me off even more. Like I'm
yeah.
not gonna get over it until it's acknowledged. And half the time it's never even acknowledged that we are arguing.
Normally I feel like it's a pretty mutual understanding.
Yeah, but then when you act like it's not happening, I'm like, I can't tell if he's delusional or just ignoring it. And if I'm mad, I want you to know that I'm mad.
Oh, it's not a secret. I can normally pick it up. Yeah, and a lot of times I'm always like I'm kind of then I fall into like normally the stuff that we are having an argument about normally is like something that it's not life or death. It really is not that important. So then I'm like, what are we even doing? Like, and that's where I'll be like, okay, let's just like forget about this, and because this is just dumb and there's just no point.
Which I understand for some things, but then it like gets into this habit of like we're just forgetting about everything, and if we can't even like that's not how it's supposed to work.
No.
Just like you don't even care enough to want to argue with me, and I know that's toxic on me that you don't care about me unless you're arguing with me, but
Yeah, I see that comes across as because that like there's part of me that thinks that too. It's like it's not that I don't care, but like I just care more about like us than I do this like silly argument. So it's like I don't care to argue about this, and I that comes across in a negative way that I don't normally mean, but it's really just like this isn't something that's worth it.
yeah, but that's not what you say. It's not like it's like you have this conversation, but it's all in your head, and it never
It
like
is. I
I'm
always
on
have
like a
really good.
completely different page. Like
Yeah, I always have really good conversations in my head, and it always sounds really good. I'm like, if I could just get this out, that would
yeah,
be. And I normally can.
yeah.
I just can't do it right that second. It's
You
got to be later.
right. It's got to be 2 days later, and I'm even more pissed off by then.
Yeah, because I'm so quick to just like get the fuck out.
Yeah.
We're getting better though. We're getting better. You think?
Mm. You're good. You're better at like texting it out or typing it out or like writing it down,
Yeah.
which I get because I feel like I am too. But then I feel like we're 14 whenever we're both in the house texting each other back and forth because we're mad. Being petty as hell. And we've got the dogs divided up. It's a
The
whole
whole
mass
house is in
casualty.
divides. And then it's like 5 o'clock
Tension
rolling
is
around, and I'm like,
hungry.
fuck, it's about time to eat. Yeah. And I'm like, I know better. It doesn't matter what kind of argument it is. I'm not going to go get something to eat by myself. That's normally the olive branch, though. That's the.
Okay, but
Once it
I
comes.
see it coming a mile away. Like
Once
it's
it,
4 o'clock, and I'm like, this bitch is really
well,
about to
and
text
then,
me.
well, I know that it's like a whole thing because then you'll probably hear, like, I start walking around. And it's like, okay, he's getting mobile. Here in just a minute, he'll be. Here in a minute, he'll be making it. Then next thing you know, I'm like coming downstairs, but like I go to the bathroom
So
first,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I fuck around in the bathroom for a second, and then next thing I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna act like I need to get something out of my drawer by the bed where she's laying at, and see if she notices me, and I'm like getting this like pair of underwear out that I don't even need. And I'm seeing if you're paying attention and you're not. I'm like, fuck, she's playing it hard to get.
Always me coming up to the kitchen for 3 things when I literally need nothing, just so I can stomp back down the stairs.
And then I'll like clear my throat to see if I can get you like
Oh, and
even
that
move a
really
little
sends
bit.
me over the edge because nothing annoys me more than when you blow your nose or you clear your throat.
Yeah, this is a tough time for it too.
Yeah, allergy
Yeah, I'm in
season.
a tough.
You
Yeah, I don't
know,
know how this recording's gonna sound me over here,
it wouldn't
but I
be
can't
as
help it. It's
difficult
just
if you would just take your
I've been
Zyrtec.
taking it 2 a day, 2 at a time.
Maybe add some Flonase. Go said he'd let you use one of his allergy shots.
Yeah. So they don't do shit for me.
That's a lie. He hasn't sneezed in hours. I mean, my God, they're exhausted.
Well, anything else you want to add for the first
I was
episode
gonna say, how long
about
do you think this
us,
has been
or
going on?
I don't know.
I don't know. What do you want them to know about us?
Well, I think we made it.
Other than we
Talked about it earlier. I'm coming
we
up on.
argue a lot. We text from opposite rooms.
I have a drinking problem.
Oh.
Coming on 10 months in the sober train.
Mm-hmm.
Put the alcohol down. I'll get into that. I would like to I don't want the whole persona to be just like about me and my alcoholism, and because I don't want, that's just a part of
Right, that's
kind
not
of
who
who I
you are as a
am,
person,
and
yeah.
I'm a lot different person now. Like if you knew me,
Yeah, I do think that if anyone, when you were like in your prime alcoholism, if any of the people that we hung out with like watch this, like I feel like they'll be like, anyone that's hung out with you in that era, they're gonna be
yeah,
like, yeah,
oh
that
yeah,
makes
everyone would be
sense.
like, oh yeah, we definitely had a problem.
Yeah, but how many of them are gonna be like, damn, I kind of have one too.
Yeah, and I mean that's because I mean, like I said, some people can drink and they can handle it,
Not
and
you, we
that's
tried.
great, huh?
So not you, we tried.
Yeah, no, and I just can't, and you know, I uh, I never had a problem with the alcohol. Had a problem without it, and that's never, I didn't. You never realize it was like like I never
I don't
made
really
a
like that statement because I feel like I don't know.
well, that was more like a cliche, but yeah, it
It's not
you
really
know,
fitting because you did have a problem with it. Not
yeah.
at first, but
Well, you don't realize that there's a problem until you try to go without it.
no, I'm just saying, like, when we first started dating, like, we drank, we went to bars, like, whatever. We were both, I was in my mid 20s, you were in your early 20s. But then, like, even, like, once we got married, and then, like, that first year, like, I feel like it really went downhill quick. Like, it went to where, like, we'd be good. You could have a few drinks, and then all of a sudden you'd be blackout drunk like in a matter of seconds. And like that, like we went to like multiple parties at the beginning where we would be out like all night, and you would be good to go. Like I don't know. I feel like everything changed really rapidly out of nowhere. Like I feel like I wouldn't have ever saw it coming. I don't know
Yeah, it
if that
just,
makes sense.
yeah, it, I don't know.
Not that I like wouldn't have married you or whatever if I knew. I felt like that came off bad.
Yeah,
Like,
well, yeah, I mean, it just, you don't realize, like, it's fun in games until you physically start to, like, feel it. And by that, I mean, like, waking up, like, shaking, like, with the shakes, like, or like getting to the point where, especially with myself, I know like I could drink all night and like I was up at 7.
yeah,
First
that's
one
the
up, first one
craziest
going,
thing.
like no
Yeah,
problem. I was up.
that was the craziest thing to me for sure. Was that like the next day you were just ready to go,
Yeah.
or like how you literally like changed your whole life around drinking, and like I was none the wiser. You know what I mean? Like when you were working for the city and like I was driving back and forth, you would get up at like 3:30 and go to the gym and then go to work. And I just thought that it was because you were being really healthy, but really it was just so that you could drink from like 3 to like, I don't know, when would you say you quit drinking? Like by the time I got home.
Probably like 6.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
No.
And I would just come home like oblivious to it,
Yeah.
happy that you'd cook dinner.
Yeah. That like between the physical stuff and then once I felt like I had to start lying about it, and like that's whenever, and again at the time, you know, I still wasn't like registering like as a problem. It was just like, oh, she doesn't want me to drink. I just like enjoy to drink. Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, which is crazy to me because I feel like I like tried to like express like how much I didn't care that you were drinking. It was the amount and the lying about it. Like I would like literally knew you were lying about it, but
Yeah.
But I do feel like that's its own like whole episode, and that's why I go down that because
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot more. But
Yeah. Like I said, I don't want, like, I don't want the point of this for people to, like,
to not
think
just
I'm just,
focus
like,
on
trying to
that.
tell a sob story. And that's the only reason I want
No.
to do this. And it's like,
But I
no,
do think it's
it's
like a
like,
big part of your personality now going forward, like kind of like jump started like a bunch of other things.
yeah, well, just like my identity became drinking, now it's
Yeah.
like my identity is like not.
Yeah, I
And
agree that.
so that's probably, like, not to get too much into it, but that was like another one of the hardest parts is like trying to recreate yourself in a whole different mindset that I haven't been in literally since I was like probably 14, 15. Like, as far as like a clear mindset without poisoning myself daily.
Isn't that crazy? I didn't even actually know you.
Well, I
Not
think
that
you
I
did.
didn't know you, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like you're like I feel like you're a completely different person than when we first started dating.
Yeah, well, that's what I don't even. And that's another like that's another thing that I think people should realize. That people that do like talk about these things that have had problems with them, that like it's not fun to talk about. So like it's not. I don't. I mean, you know how I feel. Like I get anxiety even like going back over like towards that area where it like I felt like it kind of manifested and started. And like to me, there's like a weird like feeling I get even like going back around that area because I'm just like, fuck, this is like where it all started.
Yeah.
And like, there's
I
just
feel
like
like
this
people
weird
don't.
feeling that I could like slip back into it if I go back there.
I
I don't
think you
know, like
definitely
some
would.
some weird like mental thing where I'm like, it's like danger zone, like
I think that
whatever,
you would.
like and like that just stresses me out.
I think that you would like talk yourself into it. Like if we ever move back, I think that you would very easily like use that as a reason to slip back into it. But
But yeah, so yeah, that'll be another. Plan on doing that whole episode. Spoiler alert.
no,
Whenever,
you did not.
huh?
That was cliche. That
Well,
was spoiler alert.
Well, I was gonna just like pop out with like the 1 year and like kind of talk more about it in detail, but
yeah.
that's coming. I'm gonna do that. I didn't want to get too much into it on this. Just the like I said, just because I don't want people to think that that's like what the whole persona of me is about. Because
Mm-mm.
now it's like actually it's very like anti. And yeah, I think people that like I said probably haven't like spoke to me in person or like saw me in a couple of years or whatever probably, if anybody was to watch this, would be like, yeah, that's not the same guy I remember seeing hammered, yelling about something ridiculous, acting like a fucking idiot. Like,
I don't feel like you. I mean, not with me anyway. You didn't really get to that level too many times. You're more paranoid than anything. You did talk a lot, but I don't really ever remember you like yelling or anything like that.
well, I was just loud.
Maybe blocked it out.
That's what I was. The last time I saw Andrew, he told me he's like, dude, he's like, I don't mean to be. He's like, I'm not trying to be negative or like be hateful. He's like, but he's like, I like being around you a lot more now. He's like, I know I haven't been around you a whole lot. He's like, but just that day we went to Marion,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, you're a lot better to be around now. He's like, whenever you're drunk and loud and
Telling the same story over and
yeah,
over again. That's what I mean. Like even when you were like, I was just like a lot funnier when I was drunk. I wasn't trying to hurt your feelings, but you, you weren't that funny.
I thought I was,
yeah.
but
Hmm.
so
Anything else you want to touch on with us? Any other backstory?
No, this is 3 years married today. I don't know. Nothing else I think I want.
I was gonna say you could tell them how we met, but that also involved you being drunk, so you probably don't like to tell that story either.
We can do all that in the episode where we go into talking about the drinking, unless you don't want to. So a lot of people think it's funny the way that we met.
Okay, I thought it was funny. Like in hindsight, I get like why it's not funny now, but
Well, I mean, what was it? You posted about Bella on Twitter, and I
yeah.
was scrolling through Twitter.
Yeah, I'd posted there was like a poll. There was like a couple dogs and it takes a village shelter that they were like trying to raise money for so that they didn't have to like euthanize some of the other dogs. So I was going to go get a second dog because I already had Noble. And so I posted on Twitter and was like something cheesy about like this post if I should go get this dog. And then like less than 2 hours later, I had like gone and got a different dog, Bella. And then I guess yeah, you had followed me on Twitter. You already had followed me on Twitter for quite some time. We just like didn't really like know each other like that. Instagram too, I think. But and then you added me on Snapchat out of the blue. And I had posted about Bella on my Snapchat.
Well,
And
I
then
had
you
saw your
slid
tweet, and I was like, that's what caught my attention was seeing your tweet.
me rescuing dogs.
And then I
Caught
clicked
your
on your
attention.
profile and clicked on your profile picture, and I was like, damn, she's pretty hot. I was like, who is this? Like, I don't know who this is really. I don't
Like you
get.
didn't follow me on Instagram at
Yeah,
our
well, I mean,
AC.
but I didn't like really know you, you know. And
No.
like that just so happened to like pop up on my Twitter timeline and my Twitter feed.
Yeah, because I didn't really post a lot on Twitter either.
And
Usually when me and Megan would get in an argument, I'd tweet about her, but that was really it.
and I was like, well, I don't really have any way to like communicate with her, and like I didn't want to just like message you on Twitter, so I got
Yeah.
I got on Snapchat, and I was like, well, I wonder if her Twitter name, like if they're all her usernames are like all the same
That was
handle.
very original. Yeah.
So I got on
Made it easy.
yeah, I got on Snapchat and typed in your Twitter handle, and it came up, and I was like, oh shit! So I added you. You added me back like 2 minutes later,
It was like a Wednesday or Thursday night. Nothing
and yeah,
thirsty.
and then I remember I reached out and said something about Bella. I don't remember what I said exactly, but something about the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Which you
we,
ended up hating her.
yeah, she ended up pissing me off. We got better with time. We went through like a rocky phase there in the middle, but
You and Bella?
yeah.
Yeah. It's because you hated her and she loved you.
It's because she pissed on everything.
She couldn't help it. She was old.
But yeah, that's how we met. We started talking on Snapchat, and then ended up hanging out later that night,
Barely.
and yeah, yeah, I'll get into. I'll tell the full details, but basically, never. Pretty much, almost you could say, moved in that night. Really.
Yeah. You came over that night. And then you left the next morning for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then ended up coming back over later that night. But it was like around the holidays and everything too.
Mm-hmm.
We really jumped right in.
Yes, it was like November 12th because
Yeah.
it was right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And then, yeah, because it was uncomfortable because I didn't really know what to do. We always went to like DPR after Thanksgiving. And I was like, I don't really like want you to like meet my family yet. But you ended up like coming to pick me up so we could go hang out at Danny's. And then my family ended up like Brad and Rachel like ended up like meeting you in
Yeah.
the parking lot that night or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
You essentially moved in after that. You would like pack a you packed a bag for like a couple of weeks and then like was just like coming back and forth because I worked night shifts then.
Mm-hmm.
So you would just like come back and forth and then eventually
Yeah, eventually I just started staying
yeah.
the nights that you were at work. Mhm. Yeah, pretty much moved in.
How fast would you say?
Full-fledged moved in, like
Yeah.
6 months. Maybe faster.
I guarantee it was faster. 6 months.
Yeah.
We
I
only
mean,
dated for like a little over a year before we got engaged. I was
yeah.
thinking like a month, 6 weeks.
Yeah,
It
probably
was
2 months.
fast.
Probably a couple months of like, yeah, the bag coming for a couple days and running home and like swapping out bags.
Yeah.
And yeah, then probably a couple months it was just pretty much never leaving.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Obsessed.
since day one. Haven't been able to get enough since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm-mm. But all right, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this first episode, and just kind of getting our faces out there
Yeah,
and
throwing it out there.
people
Getting it
hearing
over with.
people hearing from us. Yeah, breaking that barrier. The first video, that's
I
super
feel like
embarrassing. And
and like how long have we been like, okay, we just need to sit down and record it. The room's been painted. You've been making small tweaks for weeks.
yeah, that's what everyone said. The worst part, just like getting started, getting your first video
Yeah.
out there, getting rolling, and that's like. I've caught myself now days on end. I'm like trying to mess with the lights and do this and do
So much
that, and
lighting. My God.
I'm just wasting time at this
If
point.
one person makes a comment on the lighting being bad,
I'm not.
I'm coming for you.
No, you can't read the comments.
Yeah, I'm just glad it's over with because I knew that I would be like a little awkward and I
Oh,
don't
my voice was
like.
like shaky at the very beginning. I'm
Yeah.
sure
Well,
people
I
were gonna be
already know
able to
I'm not
hear it.
gonna like my voice whenever we play it back either. But
Yeah, that's what the worst part. Listening to someone, they were talking about that the first time they started a podcast, and they're like listening back to the video and listening to my voice. They were like, disgusting. It's
yeah,
fucking disgusting.
yeah,
So I don't even plan on like really watching these back. Like I plan on just like pretty much putting them out there exactly how they are, and that's another thing I want it to be. Like I just want it to be raw and unedited. And I think that's another thing that strikes me about listening to certain podcasts, or like I don't like to feel like I'm listening to a TV show, if that makes sense.
yeah.
But yeah,
I
the
mean,
first one, it'll be embarrassing, and who knows, people will probably laugh, and I'll probably laugh. And
yeah. I mean, if no one watches it for anything else other than to talk shit, we got that
yeah,
going.
yeah,
A view's a view.
just talking about, yeah, you know what, I'll view it. That'll be one. So
Send it to our parents. That'll be four
yeah,
more.
yeah, we can get a couple.
Oh,
All right.
no cool sign off. Handshake.
What's the name of the show?
Sutton Sanctuary? Is that what we went with?
Yep, at the Sutton Sanctuary. Give it a like, follow, subscribe.